Well, Nick Petrick.
My friend, how are you?
We made it here. I am so good. It's a big day for us, dude.
Episode number 1. It's finally here. The back end is here.
It's finally here after months, after years of planning this out.
Years, yeah, definitely years.
We've reached the pinnacle of existence.
Oh, God. I feel like after today, let's get all the back end stuff figured out. Good Lord. That was enough work for 10 years.
Dude, I agree. But you're not a real person in society if you don't have your own podcast. And here we are contributing.
Thank God. We've finally become real men.
We have become real men. That is true indeed.
Oh, God.
But what are we being real men about? Well, for those first-time listeners, which is everybody.
That's true.
This is a podcast called Between Two Millennials, a social commentary on everything involving today's millennials. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about the business world, sports, religion, whatever. And it's going to be a good time.
You name it, and we're here to give a interesting perspective on it.
Not that our perspective matters in any sense. Sorry to say, as we live in this 7 billion person world. But alas, we will give our perspectives nonetheless, and also present facts. Hopefully not alternative facts.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
But, anywho, before we get going into our topics for today, Nick, tell me who you are.
Yeah. Okay. So my name's Nick Petrick. I'm living out here in beautiful Austin, Texas, working at an investment firm called Lone Ranger Capital.
Thrilling.
Oh yeah, it's great stuff. We do real estate loans.
Is it like the movie? Is it like the movie Lone Ranger? Similar concept?
I wish, but I am indeed Tonto in this operation. There's just two of us. It's just me and my boss. So I kind of am Tonto here.
Nice.
But I mean, it's great. It's what I love doing. I'm happy to say I've found my dream career, so that always makes me happy. Yeah, so that's good. Just moved out here and finished up school last May, May of 2016 at this point. So we're almost coming
Where'd you go to school?
Dude, you and I both went, and one of us, meaning you, are going to Pepperdine University.
Go Huefs!
Go Huefs!
Go Huefs! Ayo Huefs!
Oh, God. So just moving out here and getting started out in the working sphere. So that's always fun. Getting acclimatized to the work environment and trying to get established in this new city. Yeah.
Dude, what is the most funnest thing about real work?
Well, first of all, it's the excellent education in grammar that I received at Pepperdine. The most funnest thing is, well, for me, I think I would say it's just kind of the variety. Like every day it's something new, and I'm always coming into work and a little hands-on with stuff. I'm not feeling like I am doing anything useless. I feel like I'm actually impacting, which is, I guess, a very millennial thing to say, but I feel like I do make a real impact on what I do, which is fun. Wow. So that gives me some personal satisfaction, which I appreciate. How about you, sir? Tell me a little more about yourself, John.
Oh, me? You want to know about me?
Our faithful guide in this podcasting
here. My name is Jonathan Gregory McClellan. I'm currently 22 years old, and all I have to my name is a high school diploma. Yes, I've been in school for 4.5 years, and I have yet to obtain my degree. Why, do you ask? Well, I'm in a special program. I'm in this BS IMBA program at Pepperdine University, where I get my bachelor's degree and a master's degree in 5 years. How cool is that, Nick?
Oh, it's great, dude. Because in the meantime, you get to claim that you don't have a college degree when you're already working on a master's.
I know. Seriously, how does that work?
Very and I also
get to continue to accumulate more debt, more of that yummy student debt.
Oh baby, that student debt, that ever-present ceiling hanging over today's generation.
True.
Woo!
Anywho, so yes, for my career, what I really want to do is environmental law. So I will be going to law school hopefully in the next couple of years. And what I want to do long term is I want to impact environmental policy, both locally, nationally, and internationally. I have lived overseas. I counted this the other day, Nick. I have lived overseas for all but 7 years of my 22-year life.
Good Lord. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that's true with, your childhood and all that stuff, too. But
Exactly.
God bless, I can't believe it's been 7 years.
I know. I've literally only lived in America for 7 years. But anyway,
Jeez.
that is the rapidly globalizing world that we live in. Hint, hint.
Hey, nice subtle shift there, boss.
That nice little transition. So, folks, as previously mentioned, we weekly will try to come up with a host of topics that are relevant to us, relevant to the world, and we're going to talk about it. Today's topics are intriguing, exhilarating, are going to knock your socks off.
Hot button.
If you know what I mean. It's going to be the greatest thing you ever heard. We are going to look at, first off, globalization. Now, Nicholas,
That's me.
why do you want to talk about globalization today?
Well, I think first off, we'll start off with a little definition of what the term globalization means.
Oh, interesting. Please.
Okay, perfect. I will read from the very reputable source of Merriam-Webster dictionary, and it defines globalization.
We should have looked, on a side note, we should have looked up globalization on Urban Dictionary and done that definition.
I feel like that one would have given us a fairly accurate representation of what the modern day society feels of globalization.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should start doing that. I'm going to jot that down real quick for future pods. Anyway, all right. Continue with the Merriam-Webster definition, please.
Perfect. Yeah, so let me get back to the Merriam-Webster here. So Merriam-Webster defines globalization as the act or process of globalizing, the state of being globalized, especially the development of an increasingly integrated global economy marked especially by free trade, free flow of capital, and the tapping of cheaper foreign labor markets. And I think globalization, I feel like, is impacting pretty much the entire world, globalization, on a daily basis. We're moving from economies that were either very separated or very bunched up, like only certain countries would be trading with one another and they wouldn't have much contact with the others, to a globe that is more interconnected than ever before. And I think that's been a great thing for society. In the past 20 years or so, and nowadays we're really starting to see a lot of pushback on some of the negative effects we're getting from globalization. Most recently, in all the elections and things that have been going on. So it's been interesting to see both growing up in the positive light of all of it and the rapid development we've had, and nowadays with this a little more, I think, negative pushback. So I kind of wanted to talk with you about globalization, kind of see where our thoughts are on it, just in our age here, and I think just kind of how it's impacting both us in the sense of being United States citizens and global citizens, really. So that's kind of what we're going to first cover today.
Yeah, I think globalization is a very interesting topic, and it's also something that more and more so is relevant to people our age. We are more and more being encouraged to experience the world, see what else exists out there, better understand what there is beyond the borders of this great country. And as a result of that, we are fueling globalization. We are fueling the spread of ideas, culture, products, goods that comes from cross-border trade.
Right.
And I personally find globalization to be a good thing. It's also a international playing field leveler, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen, as a result of globalization's many previously impoverished countries, China being the biggest example, able to pull millions upon millions of people out of poverty and into a middle-class society, which is very, very good and beneficial across the board. And I think that is something I'm generally in favor of. I don't like knowing that there are people who are and poverty around the world, and I want to take steps to help to fix that, right? I feel like we are the generation that is less concerned about money and more concerned about social well-being and benefiting others. And so in that regard, at least, globalization has been a positive force.
Right.
However, as you mentioned, there are downsides to that, and a lot of that has to do with our own local economies. As globalization has advanced, we've outsourced more and we've shipped jobs overseas. And so, Nick, I want to know, especially now that you're in the workforce, unlike me, I am curious to know whether, A, in your personal situation, would your job ever be outsourced, and under what circumstances would it be outsourced? And B, what is the solution for those people whose jobs have been outsourced? How do they respond to that?
Absolutely. I think you and I, and especially folks our age, are having. I think we are in a very unique position because we are kind of on this crest of this wave of globalization. So we're at a very unique point, I feel, where you and I are able to learn the skills and the trades that are going to be in demand in this upcoming century. And so we're kind of able to catch that wave kind of as we're moving forward here to take advantage of that. So I think, the job that I have and hopefully will continue to have in the future, I don't think that would necessarily be affected by globalization, just because I think we're at that cusp where we're able to climatize a little more to the changing working environment. And I don't think that's necessarily the case for some of the older generations, especially those folks that are growing and living and working in the Rust Belt. Yeah, and I mean that's been that's been a huge topic for the past few months, especially that a lot of those workers, their jobs were a little more traditional, like manufacturing and things of that nature.
Right.
And I think they're having a little bit of a more difficult time adjusting to this new age of globalization. And I think a lot of that has to do with we're finding it very difficult to retrain some of these folks now that they're getting into an older stage in their life, getting ready for retirement, things of that nature. It's just becoming a little more difficult to adjust that education requirement to the modern day age. So There's definitely like a little bit of friction for globalization in that sense. And for a lot of folks, it's life shattering. All of a sudden, the one big economy that's been around this town is uprooted and leaves for, parts unknown, while they're kind of stuck there just holding the pieces. So while you and I are at a great position to kind of capitalize on globalization and really take advantage of it to kind of push our lives and humanity's lives further, it does leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, I think. Just especially because, if we're going to be realistic, not everyone gets to capture the gains from globalization. For a lot of people, globalization means lost jobs, more difficult livelihoods, and a loss of income, which is just devastating. So there's understandable pushback from a lot of people. Would I say that those negatives outweigh the positives? Not necessarily. I think globalization net is beneficial for society as a whole. So we'll see. But I know that's the big contention between globalization, people that are with it and people that are against it. It's just some people just don't get scooped up in that new net of greater effects.
Right, and I think that is correlated with definitely our millennial generation, who is spending more time overseas, who's getting to experience more things. When we're able to form a personal connection with those from other countries that may be less fortunate than we are here in the U.S. And if we're being very realistic, we as Americans are probably the most fortunate group of people on the face of this planet.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, living in America affords us luxuries that the majority of the world can only dream of.
Amen.
And so I think, and I do believe that most people are inherently good. And so when they see peers in other countries that are struggling in different ways to really, I guess, obtain those same luxuries that we have here in the U.S., we see a desire among our generation to see that happen, and that is a partial side effect of globalization. We're able to relate better to other people from other places and seek to make their lives better.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that effect is more because we're now, it's easier to be exposed to these cultures because, I mean, we have a global media now, and I mean, social media, goodness knows that pushes ideas and images and videos throughout our lives more quickly than it ever has before. And so do you think just now these topics have always existed? I mean, trying to help people in other parts of the world and uplifting social standards. Do you think those kind of things have always existed and now they're just becoming a little more obvious, I would say, or maybe just a little more prevalent and kind of at the forefront now?
Let's look at some more recent history real quick. We see the continent of Africa, which today is it's a very backwards place in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Africa has yet to really industrialize. Generally speaking, the continent of Africa has yet to industrialize relative to the rest of the world.
Right.
There are a lot of very valuable metals there. There's a lot of good human resources and natural resources, and yet we still haven't seen the economies in Africa develop. However, part of the reason of that is because there were imperial powers, France, the Netherlands, the UK, even the US to a smaller degree, Belgium, who came into these countries and attempted in their own way to help the people. Mm-hmm. Now, in those times, it was helping them by forcing them to assimilate to Western values and beliefs because there is this inherent belief that West is best, and what Western society believes to be true is superior above all other societies, and we must inundate these people with the knowledge that will bring them into our level of superiority.
Right.
And I think we recognize today kind of the flaw in that thinking. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was very, very difficult to understand what the long-term ramifications of those decisions were. Today, it is very easy for us to go into an environment and to measure and effectively test and see whether these changes are positive or negative. Now, right. You can look at the raising of people out of poverty as being a great thing because now they have access to, basic human resources, food, water, healthcare, shelter, and whatnot. But then what often accompanies that, when people are brought out of poverty, there's higher levels of depression, there's higher levels of anxiety, there's higher suicide rates. And so mm-hmm. It depends on your perspective, it depends on how things are done, it depends on really the process and the motivation behind that process. And so I think what our generation today is really seeing and wanting to do is to bring positive global change to communities that are lacking the luxuries that we have today in a way that doesn't force them into really what happened in kind of across the continent of Africa in the early 1900s, where mm-hmm. they were simply taken advantage of. Yeah. I don't think our generation wants to do that. Now, if we're being honest, we're all self-seeking, self-interested individuals, and mm-hmm. and our own pockets are certainly a consideration. But personally speaking, I would rather see one person brought out of poverty than see my wallet made fatter.
And see, that's what I'll be curious about, seeing what really happens in the future with that, because I think it's very easy for us, especially like people that are still in school or just really haven't lived much outside of school yet. I think it's very easy for us to look at all these things happening in the world and say, oh man, I want to just spend my life helping all these different nations or communities, grow and achieve more. And I think it's very easy to look at that when we're not able to make like a direct impact and feel like that's what we're looking to do. Mm-hmm. But I'll be curious to see if, as people start moving out of school and moving more into the workplace and have families and things like that, I'll be curious to see where ultimately, I guess, their ambitions lie. Because I think it's very easy to say that now, But I think once reality starts hitting for a lot of people, I really do feel that's going to shift and become just kind of how it is nowadays, to be completely frank. I think a lot of like what millennials can say and do is very simple because of like social media and different aspects like that. But being vocal about something is different than actually making an effective change. So I'll be curious to see about that.
I definitely concur, and I think this is something we'll talk about at length in subsequent episodes. But you look at the most recent presidential election, specifically on the Democratic side, and we see a candidate in Bernie Sanders who was very, very much in favor of leveling the playing field, both in the U.S. and in certain cases internationally. And so I think and the majority of his support was rooted in our millennial generation. It was mostly younger and also educated individuals.
Right.
And
very ideological, very, willing to make these like big macro changes, but not a lot of realism per se on the day to day.
Right. Exactly. And so I agree with you. It will be interesting to see how that change happens on a macro level. But I think as individuals, what is most important for us to be doing is to find something that you're passionate about, find something that you thoroughly enjoy, and find a way to use that passion to make a positive influence in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And don't be afraid to take criticism for what you're doing. Don't be afraid to hear flack from other people, but also recognize that if you feel as though what you're doing is truly making a positive difference, then go for it 110% and don't be scared of that.
Exactly. I think that's the difference. I think there's going to be a lot of people that say that that's what they're looking for because it looks good on X, Y, or Z social media.
Yeah.
But I guess when push comes to shove, it'll just be like, well, I'm done with school now. I'll just get a job and it'll be all great. So I'm curious to see like where the actual passion for helping people is compared to just making it sound nice, I guess, in this new globalized sphere.
So you're saying if I post pictures of myself at a service project on Instagram just for the likes, that I'm not actually helping?
Pretty much, yeah. What I'm saying is if you're doing this once, like as a one-time deal, and that's it, and you're done with it
for
afterwards,
the
likes, then you're not doing it for the right reason, no.
What?
Not at all.
Dude.
Shocking to hear.
I went and hung out with homeless puppies last weekend. Like...
And what a struggle.
That makes me a better, and I posted on Instagram. Like that definitely makes me like better.
I think
like
that,
I am
I think that
better.
actually makes you an animal social welfare advocate. You're instant life change, dude.
I'm a socialist now. I'm communist. I'm communist for puppies. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely, 100%, dude.
Wow. That's insane. Yep. Well, you know what? I'm going to join the Communist Puppy Party of America if that's the case.
If only there was such an awesome endeavor, dude. I would be right there beside you.
Yeah, side note, I didn't actually go hang out with homeless puppies the other day.
Or post about it on Instagram.
Or post about it on Instagram, yeah. I'm not that basic.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's make a bit of a transition,
okay,
if you will.
I'm ready.
Into our second topic, because I feel like we really hit globalization, at least as an intro topic, pretty well.
Yeah, I think there'll be more to talk about on that later, but I think as just intro based thing, that was perfect.
Yep. It'll be something that we will consider greatly as we move forward in our lives. And this next topic is something that almost killed me last weekend.
Interesting shift.
Indeed, yes. My life was almost gone. Well, at least the life of my feet. God. The topic is winter camping. A fun time for all. And I want to go ahead and say this as a disclaimer. Even after the story I'm about to tell, go camping in general, but go winter camping too. It's amazing. It's beautiful. You're going to get to see just huge areas of land with next to nothing on it, very barren, very deserted, and yet the connection you'll be able to have, with the universe around you is like spot on, dude. Like if we're
I thought
talking
you were
about
going somewhere great with that, and then you just went into this straight hippie mode like 3 seconds afterwards.
if we're talking about like the growth of my spirituality, it was like over 9,000 growth. Dude, like insane growth. No, but if you really want to go out and see some beautiful nature, go winter camping. So let me clear my throat real quick as I begin to tell this wonderful tale. Last weekend, me and my friend Chris Buchanan went to the Grand Canyon. It was I would say a generally good time. It was cold. The fifth worst storm in Arizona history hit the day before we got there,
which is nuts.
It was a little bit snowy, needless to say, but we got to the Grand Canyon. We're able to hike around the South Rim for a while. Good times. It was beautiful. Hop on my Instagram at jmacandcheese if you want to see the dopest of pics. But
all the likes.
Yeah, please just give me likes. Like, just hound me with likes. That's literally, honestly, if we talk about where I get my worth from today, Instagram likes.
All about
That's
likes.
it.
100% likes.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we drive up to our campsite the first time, and as Nick, you know, I drive a Ford Ranger truck. Her name is Lola, and Lola is temperamental.
She's barely held together.
Yeah, I've definitely used duct tape many times on that truck.
And rope. I remember rope being a very particular article being used there.
I did use rope on that truck too. Lola is a 2005 Ford Ranger who does not do well in snow and ice. She is poor. She is Ranger, and she is poor.
That's like the best way to put that. You're absolutely right there.
So I try to get it to our campsite the first time, and I slide into a ditch. It was bad. It was really bad.
How far into the Grand Canyon were you by this point, though?
We had just gotten there. Like, we were literally like 15 minutes into the Grand Canyon.
So you're still like on those little service roads, like walking into the actual park zone?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
So I called AAA. Thankfully, my mother, Rhonda McClelland, is a saint, and she got me AAA, dude.
Well done.
My mommy is the best. She knows that I will do stupid things in my car.
She's here to take care of you even when she's in Nashville.
Exactly, yep. My mommy, for the record, is the greatest individual on the face of this planet, and if you want to convince me otherwise, I will fight you. You can come to my house in Santa Monica, and I will fight you.
She is a great woman.
Thank you. Nick has met her several times. So I called AAA, and the tow guy comes to tow me out of the ditch, and I was very appreciative and thankful and whatnot. And then a couple hours later after we hiked, I'm like, all right, Bucky, I'm going to actually try to get to our campsite this time without sliding into a ditch.
So where did they bring the truck beforehand? Sorry, I know that I keep interrupting.
I was right off the road. I was like right off the paved section of the road.
Oh wow! So he just like dumped you off somewhere.
Yeah, basically. He just pulled me out. He didn't even tow me. He just pulled me out of the ditch.
Oh jeez.
So we try to go to the campsite again, and the road leading back to the actual like areas where you camp, it's pretty snowed over. There's probably like 3 inches of snow on the ground. But I hit it pretty fast, and we go past the place where I skidded into the ditch the first time. And we're driving up to the campsite, and we hit the loop where we're supposed to camp. And I take a left turn too sharply, and what do you know?
Oh, no.
I slide into another ditch.
No!
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was bad. So I tell Bucky, I'm like, dude, like, go set up our campsite. I'm gonna go call AAA again. And mind you, my phone did not have service, so I had to hike all the way down to the grocery store. That was like half a mile away, and go use their landline. Who even owns landlines anymore? What is that technology?
God, what the hell?
I know. So I go call AAA. They come tow me out of the ditch again. Thankfully, it wasn't the same guy. Otherwise, that would have been...
Oh, thank God, dude. That would have been so awkward to try to explain to him. I promise, sir, I'm not an idiot. This was a different turn. Couldn't handle it. Went into the ditch a second time.
I don't know if I could, with good conscience, say I'm not an idiot. I think I just am at that point for getting stuck twice. So he pulls me out of the ditch. I drive my car back down to the grocery store because I didn't want to get it stuck again. And then I walk back up, find Bucky at our campsite, and we set up our tent, set up a fire, and go to bed. Well, I wake up the next morning, and it's 16 degrees outside, which I was expecting. I had packed properly for this trip.
That's good.
However, something I had not considered was that my boots would freeze.
So
the night before, I had defrosted my boots by the fire and placed my wet boots in my tent, and then they refroze.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I'm sitting in my tent thinking to myself, how am I going to get out of here with these frozen boots? I literally couldn't put my feet in them.
Were they just like
so
too
bad.
small by that point? Oh wow. So they like actually contracted and froze again?
Yes.
Good
it
Lord.
was bizarre. So I tell Bucky, I'm like, dude, I don't know what we're going to do. And he's like, I don't know either. So thankfully, there was a girl at the campsite next to us who had managed, I have no clue how, but she managed to bring her Lexus sedan up to the campsite.
Dear God.
I think it was 4-wheel drive, and my little Lola is only 2-wheel drive.
Okay.
She clearly hasn't adapted to globalization.
4-wheel drive Lexus, dude. She's got processes of globalization.
Yeah, she does. Do that Japanese manufacturing there.
Scientific.
So scientific, much scientific.
Indeed.
Anyway, this Chinese girl who was there, she offers to give me a ride back down to our car, which is great, except that I have to get from my tent to her car, and clean up our campsite.
Oh no.
In my socks.
You're practically barefoot at that point. They just get wet
I was
immediately.
barefoot in 2 feet of snow.
Oh my god.
And it was 16 degrees outside. So we cleaned up that campsite so quickly. Like, it was insane how quickly we cleaned up that campsite.
I would have just stuffed everything in the trunk and just said, get me the hell out of here.
That's what we did. That's literally what we did.
Oh,
and
no.
so we hopped in her car, and she drove us down to my car. She was an angel. Thank you. She was also from Shanxi province, China.
Oh, wow.
To all of our Chinese listeners out there, Xinian Kuaila.
Happy New Year indeed.
Yes.
Year of the Rooster.
Year of the Rooster. I hope y'all are all celebrating in style with plenty of baijiu.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so she gives us a ride down to my car, and I hop in the car and turn the heat on immediately and start trying to warm up. And I pull my socks off, and I kid you not, Nick Petrick, I kid you not, my feet were a deep, deep crimson red,
Oh, God.
verging on purple.
Dude, that's what I was worried about. Like, just, if you managed to pull off your socks and your feet were purple, oh, God, dude, you would have been donezo.
Yeah. GG, rip. Like, I would have lost a toe.
You would have been metal foot, dude, from then on.
I would have had to get a what's it called? What do you get?
Those, like an amputation?
Yeah, no, but what's it called when you get like something else stuck onto your amputated item? A prosthetic. There we go. I would have gotten a prosthetic.
An item stuck on. Sorry. Oh man, I was struggling to find that word too.
Yeah.
It just made me laugh.
Honestly, on a side note, I think if I were to ever get like amputated below my kneecap, I would forego like a real advanced prosthetic and just go with a wood peg.
Ooh, just go real classic with that one, dude.
Yeah, and then slowly turn into a pirate.
Hey, but honestly though, like anything down below the knee, dude, and whenever you start running, you like get those bitchin' like bouncing blade things. Like those are awesome.
Yeah,
Have you seen
like
those,
like Pistorius, the guy from South Africa, had before he killed his wife.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully you're not gonna murder your girlfriend, wife.
Or girlfriend, excuse me, whatever she was.
I don't know what she was either,
I think that's a correlation. If you get the bouncing foot amputation thing, then you are primed to kill your girlfriend.
I mean that sounds like it's got a pretty strong like correlation there, dude.
Yeah.
Prosthetics equal violence.
That's science for you there. We're 1 for 1 on all observed test cases.
Yeah, these are these alternative facts we're talking about here.
Wow. Hashtag alternative facts.
Ooh.
What a world we live in.
Oh God. Okay, so your feet were basically purple.
My feet were as purple as what's a really purple item?
Plum?
What?
A plum? Like a fruit?
Sure. My feet were purple as a plum. No, they weren't purple. They were like a deep crimson. They were still red.
Okay.
But
well, that's
so
good.
my right foot defrosted pretty quickly, but my left foot took probably like an hour before I had feeling in it again, which was insane.
It is class A frostbite, dude.
I know, it was bad. And thankfully, like, there's no like blue or black marks. My mother, who is a nurse, also a saint, but also a nurse, I called her and was like, "Mommy, help me." And she was like, do you have any like blue or black marks? And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Okay, you're good. You're an idiot, but you're good."
You're an idiot, but you're good. Yeah, that sounds like your mom.
My mom has the voice of a menthol smoker.
She just speaks out of her trachea.
Yeah.
Jonathan, what are you doing?
Why did you not defrost your boots, you idiot? What were you thinking?
Keep them snowy next time, you dunce. Yeah, that would have been real warm and motherly.
I know, seriously. I'm glad my mother doesn't actually talk like that. She's much sweeter and a saint.
Thank God.
So, anyway, yeah, my left foot eventually regained feeling, but it wasn't until this past Friday. So this traumatic event where I almost lost my toes happened a week ago Sunday, and it wasn't until 2 days ago Friday that I regained feeling in the tips of 2 of my toes. They had not gotten feeling back.
Dude, so you were 5+ days with limited function in your toes.
I had full function. I just couldn't feel the tips of them.
Okay, so slight nerve damage. Much better.
Probably, yeah, and it still feels funky. Like, it still doesn't feel like back to like 100%. It's like 90%, but...
Dear God, dude. I don't even know what to even say about that. That is ridiculous.
I know. I went hiking yesterday, though. I went and hiked the Hollywood sign for the first time in my life with a couple close friends of ours. Brennan Duhart, Esther Kang, Justin Cho, Griff DeFoo, and we had a jolly old time. So, and my feet were chilling.
I feel like that's half of living in like a new city, though, is that you will never end up doing all the touristy things living there unless you're new to that city. Like, I didn't go to the Hollywood sign when I lived in LA for like 13 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was only
I guess
right when I was about to leave.
I've lived here 3.5 years, and it took me that long to come try it out. But it's because I might not be here in a couple months. But anyway, that is for another discussion. So before we end this Hear Ye podcast, I have 3 tips for those who want to go winter camping.
Oh, yes.
Tip number 1, get a good sleeping bag. If you're not comfortable when you sleep in, you're going to be miserable.
God, yeah.
Tip number 2, make sure your car can handle the weather conditions. Because if you can't, you will end up with a car like Lola, who was useless and fell into 2 ditches.
And I feel like part of that, too, is making sure you're not taking turns too quickly and get some understeer and go straight into a ditch. Kiddo.
You're gonna blame the driver and not the car? That's ridiculous.
That is out of bounds, sir.
It's like, you know, like, people don't kill people, guns kill people, you know?
Excellent logic. It just picks up itself and just whacks you around the head.
Right, exactly. It's amazing.
Classic.
And finally, the last tip, make sure your boots are either defrosted, or I learned that you just have to like kind of turn them inside out a little bit to make sure your foot will fit into them in the morning. And the heat from your foot will naturally re-defrost the boot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I just always kept mine just either with snow on them or snow completely dusted off. It was like one way or the other. But if I kept them with snow, they wouldn't freeze because the snow wouldn't melt, if that makes sense.
Got it. Well, you are wiser than I.
Thank you. I try to, but sometimes I fall short. I must admit.
I know you do. So, anywho, I think that's about all the time we got here for today, huh?
I think that'll about do it, man. Yeah.
To all of our listeners, this is actually take number 2. Jonathan,
sadly,
in his immense stupidity, forgot to record the first time around.
Ooh, and so here we are.
Zinger! I goofed.
Can you tell we're good at this or no?
Good times. Heyo.
Oh, gosh.
But, yes, we want to give a couple special thanks. First one's to John Anderson for helping us with the jingle that is at the beginning and end of this video. Second one is to Megan Wan, who helped us with the thumbnail that will be on the iTunes podcast.
You guys are all beautiful people.
Yes, they are amazing, great people. If you have any questions that you would potentially like us to answer on air or inquiries of other kinds, please email us at betweentwomillennials@gmail.com or visit us at our website, betweentwomillennials.com. Nick, do you have any social media plugs for us?
Nope, because I am not a social media advocate. And frankly, I don't do much posting, so I wouldn't want to waste your guys' times with looking me up yet. I'll have to get more active, I guess. Maybe.
Lol. I feel like you should get strong snap game going on.
Yeah, I probably should. Just get something that's not quite so permanent and awkward. Snapchat's great because I don't have to pose for that, and that just feels weird to me. So maybe Snapchat's the way to go.
Yeah, and if you're interested in following me, hit me up on Instagram at jmacandcheese. jmac_and_cheese, I believe, is what my name is.
Super simplistic, of course.
Super easy. Yep, always easy. All right, next week we got John Anderson and Dave Hewitt, two good friends of the pod, joining us.
Just getting a little diversity in our conversation rolling. It should be good.
Exactly. Two more 22 to 23-year-old white guys are joining us.
A lot of diversity here.
So much diversity. But no, John helped us obviously with the song, and Dave was a former roommate of both Nick and I's. About Nick and me. I've been corrected on my grammar many times.
Is it Nick and me? Oh wow. Okay.
It would be Nick and me in that situation, I believe. If it's wrong, send me an email.
Yeah, you can tell we're not English majors.
I know sprechen de Inglés.
Sometimes I barely do that. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've just gotten to the point where we just communicate in memes.
Yeah, exactly. Dank memes.
Yeah, we're degrading that quickly.
Dank memes. Dank memes. Dank memes.
No.
Dank memes.
We can't do it
or
anymore.
Or Bitmojis, dude. We can communicate in Bitmojis too.
Oh, wait, you're right. God, I forgot that. Dude, when I found out about those, I was shocked. I said Bitmojis? I was like, what on earth, dude? I feel like I was getting old, and that was where I knew it was becoming a problem.
Good times, good times. Well, Nick, any closing words for us? Any words of wisdom?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I'm pretty excited. It's a new project for us, so definitely give us your feedback because we both know we have room for improvement, so we're always looking for good feedback.
You have room for improvement. I'm a perfect individual.
Oh, okay. Well, just improvement for me then. We would definitely
I have no flaws. Honestly, think to yourself, what flaws does Jonathan have? And immediately you will come up with nothing.
Except for driving in snow.
Hey, shut up. That was Lola's fault. You jerk.
Oh, you're right.
How could
Well,
you
if you have
up?
any driving tips for Jonathan or feedback for me, you can hit us at our email server, which we had previously put on, and again is betweentwomillennials@gmail.com.
Indeed, yes. And I have one final disclaimer for the world, and that is Nick and I don't claim to be smart, intelligent, reputable news sources, but we are going to try to address topics in meaningful and impactful ways, both for people of our generation, millennials, and for those of other generations. However, we cannot claim to be anything more than pundits. And so, in the words of Stephen Dubner from Freakonomics Radio, beware the punditry, no matter how well-degreed they are, or well-spoken, or well-coiffed. Don't assume they can know the future any better than you do, and don't assume you're such a genius either. Nick, do you think you're a genius?
Absolutely not. I am 23.
And I sure as hell am not a genius, even though I've traveled to 30 countries, so I have a pretty good idea of what's happening in the world.
All right, Mr. Millennial Man. you world traveler.
But on a serious note, when you listen and consume media, make sure that the media you are consuming is reputable and fact-based, and if you have some questions about the facts, go fact check.
Check it out. Simple Google search away, guys. Really not that difficult in this age.
Indeed. All right, folks, we will see you next week. Same time, same place.
Hey, when are we going live, by the way?
Going live with what? Oh, this pod? Well, this pod will be released on January 30th, Monday, January 30th.
And we should be weekly, so it'll be good.
It'll be a good time. All right, folks, have a good week.
Bye.
You're freaking Can a bachelor's degree help you figure that out? Back for another week. Oh, you still have to work tomorrow?
Oh God.
Oh.